Shabbat Shalom. So wonderful to have so many of you here and so many of you online. Thank God. Remarkable. I had a strange dream last night. It's a familiar theme, and some of you may be familiar with such dreams in your own life. In this one, not too hard to analyze, as most of my dreams actually aren't, and they're in full color, by the way. I was meeting a new class of students, adults, sitting around a large table, and everyone had a book in their hand. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? That was the book. And I was supposed to do 12 sessions on this book that I had not read. Absolute terror. Cantor's nightmares, actors' nightmares, rabbis' nightmares, teachers' nightmares, they're all the same. That terror of being called upon to do something and feeling utterly unprepared. Terrible feeling. I realized I didn't even have a syllabus to give to this class that I was apparently expected to have provided, and I spent the first session stalling terribly, playing a video and fast forwarding it and pretending I couldn't find where I was supposed to be, and it was a video totally unrelated, some cartoon. I mean, just a nightmare. I'm going to hope it worked out okay. But that feeling of not being ready for something and not even knowing how you got there or what you were actually expected to do, I think we can resonate with Moses when he says, Mi anochi, who am I that you're going to send me to do this absurd task? That actually wasn't really where I was going to focus, and it probably won't be, but just so moved over and over again by the way this stuff never gets old and always has something new to reveal to us. But the section that we read today focuses on Moses articulating those fears that we all have, that we're not up to the task, that we'll be alone, that we don't even fully understand the task, and that, heaven forbid, will fail miserably. The authors of the Torah depicting Moshe in such a human and such a sympathetic way should open our hearts to him from the very beginning. And I think they succeed. Not for nothing does he remain Moshe Rabbeinu, our greatest teacher. Rabbeinu, the word rabbi, just coming from the root of rav, meaning much, a lot, presumably a lot of knowledge, a lot of training, maybe, though, just a lot of chutzpah, and sometimes, maybe for the better ones, and certainly for the best, as Moses has described, a lot of humility. This humility that is embodied and depicted in this section is certainly on display in the personage of Moses. He makes some good arguments, doesn't he? And don't we feel better that he didn't just say, yes, pick me? He's run away. He has made a new life, but he can't escape his past. And nowhere is his humility going to be more marked than in the section that is the privilege of reading in the second triennial, when Moses, tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, drove the flock into the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire out of a bush. He gazed, and there was a bush all aflame, yet the bush was not consumed. Moses' curiosity and ability to be patient and slow down and look to see at this marvelous sight and wonder, why doesn't the bush burn up, is a moment that is supposed to mark him as a person who doesn't just pass things by. He's a person who is active, who has a curious mind, who wonders at the workings of the world, and he stops to become involved, even though pretty quickly we might imagine that he wished he hadn't. But this burning bush and its location this year was what I needed to hear. The burning bush is situated on Horeb, the mountain of God. And as our Torah goes along, we're going to have Mount Horeb interchangeable with Mount Sinai. We don't know for sure if Horeb was a region, if Sinai was a peak, if we could find it, even if we were given a map today. But as the Torah goes along, Horeb and Sinai are the same place. And even if that wasn't the case, going along later in the Torah, Moses is told, when you have freed the people from Egypt, you shall worship God at this mountain. That's verse 12. Why does the burning bush need to be on Mount Horeb, on Mount Sinai? God, it's brilliant literature. Not journalism, but it's brilliant literature. Because here, at the beginning of Moses' official journey as human leader of the Exodus, he's already shown the destination. And that struck me this year like never before. That gives me goosebumps. This is written in such a way to suggest that Moses, despite feeling unworthy, unprepared, uncertain, absolutely terrified, is already shown that he will succeed. He's already given a vision of the destination, more than a vision. He stands at the actual place to which he will return like a homing pigeon. Years later, when the Exodus comes to be. That's remarkable writing. And it's remarkable psychology. Abraham, remember, didn't know where he was going. He was going to have to be shown the place. First when he leaves his family, and later when he's called to bind Isaac on a mountain that God will show him. This is totally different. He's not only shown the destination beforehand, he's there already. God, there's no place like home. And as if to bring home the point, not just because Moses' shoes were unholy, is he directed to remove the sandals from his feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. It's not just that his shoes are dirty. It's that God wants Moses to physically touch the place to which he will return, so that his body is imprinted with the place. When facing an impossible task, how helpful is it, even in our own imaginations, to actually envision, and they say in this modern era, I wonder where they got it, that you should have a vision of what you want for your success, whether it's in a relationship, a creation that you're putting together, something very small, a piece of art or something you want to write, a place you want to go, that the more we can envision it, the more likely it is to become a reality. Here, God wasn't just asking Abraham to take a chance. He's charging Moses with the fate of an entire people, a people that is in bondage, a people that is so tightly enslaved that it will be like going through a thicket of the most poisonous thorns and a fire of the most intense heat to get them out. The Torah doesn't specifically say that the bush, by the way, which is called a sneh, which sounds just like Sinai, and this word is used only here, and one other place in Deuteronomy, when God is described as the God that burned in the bush, in the sneh. Moses is going to have to extract this people essentially from a burning bush. He's going to have to go through thorns and fire and yet have faith that what is ultimately inside will not be consumed. And to give him hope, God starts the journey for Moses exactly to where he will return. Really grateful to Professor Zev Falk, who expounded on this a little for me. He asks, when God says, I will be with you and this will be the sign that I have sent you, what is the sign, he asks, and how does it prove to Moses that he will succeed? The sign itself is the burning bush that is not consumed. In their exodus from Egypt, they will come to worship God in this place, and the burning bush will come to symbolize the altar where the fire will continually burn and will never be extinguished, the Ner Tamid. It is as if at this point they have already begun to worship their God at Sinai, because Moses goes before them. This sign strengthens the spirit of Moses, because then he knew that Israel would be in the service of the King of Kings. The idea that they are my servants and not servants of servants appears here for the first time, as if to say, it's going to take some time, yes, and not everyone will see it. But the Israelites are already no longer under the rule of Pharaoh. This sign will not be understood until after their departure from Egypt. And until then, the possibility that Moses will fail absolutely exists. But this sign, this little burning bush, comes to teach us the need for patience and trust in God. The Exodus begins the moment Moses pauses, acknowledges his shortcomings, and accepts that the road ahead is going to be full of heat and full of thorns. But this spirit, forged in the fire of Mount Horeb, has not and will not be consumed, no matter who tries it. My gratitude, my humility, my continuing sense that I am utterly unworthy and unprepared for this task is real, and I am so grateful to all of you and to the Holy One for reminding me that this cannot be consumed. May we shine brightly into a long and glorious future. Shabbat Shalom.